5, 4, 3, 2. It's going. Hi, everyone. I'm Shonte Taylor. I'm a neuroscientist, and I'm also a mindset success catalyst. So I help people to bust through their mental blocks that's keeping them from their highest potential, their highest self, and keeping them from their success. And I had the pleasure of meeting Mr. Daymond John at one of his book signings. You got a lot of background noise in the back, Jason.
Oh, sorry about that.
That's okay. I had the pleasure of meeting Daymond John at one of his book signings in Texas. It was College Station. And the title of his new book is The Power of Broke. And in this book, he talks about how being broke is a mindset, but you can use it to fuel your success versus detract from your success. And today I have Jason Taylor, who is going to be discussing the book with me. He has his copy. Show me a copy, Jason. And I'll let Jason describe what he does on this planet Earth, what his genius is. And we will delve into the first couple of chapters of this book and hopefully have it be an ongoing series to help and guide people to reach their full potential in life, in their profession, and in their entrepreneurial journey. Take it away, Jason. What do you do? Share with us. Oh, you're on mute.
Thank you, Shonte, for having me on. And I'd be glad to share with your audience of what I do, what's my profession, and what I'm here for. I started out in IT, actually, with the United States Air Force. Went to college at Liberty University and started contracting and consulting with some of the bigger firms like FEMA and the Pentagon. Afterwards, I decided I really wanted to learn more about entrepreneurship. And so I went into business for myself with a staffing firm called Phenomenal Staffing and started some other endeavors, fitness called Fit for Life. It's for diabetic patients, type 1 and type 2, who need a little exercise and some meal prep to help them on their journey. Just recently started doing some venture capitalist programs with some web app developments. And I'm a speaker and an author. So you can grab my book at Amazon.com. It is called Lead Yourself to Financial Success.
All right. Thank you. Thank you. Much needed. Your genius is definitely much needed. I mean, eating is a mindset, right? Disease is a mindset. I think I'm going to start a Periscope as well to share this. I think our conversation about mindset and success is going to really serve a lot of people. And we're able to, just get a different type of demographic and mindset on Periscope. So you want to start us off while I, start this Periscope stream? Maybe, I don't know, what's your opening thoughts? Oh, wait, let me acknowledge who's on first. Thank you, Stephanie. I see you joined in. If anyone has a question, you can go over to the left-hand side of your screen if you're on the computer and put a / and a Q, and then you can ask a question at any time, or you can also join in the conversation on the left, on the right side, and feel free to share your comments or insights with us. All right, Jason. What's your opening thoughts about the book?
The Power of Broke. Okay, so I was a little hesitant on picking up the book just because I was already reading 3 to 4 books at the moment. A 10X Rule by Grant Cardone, Napoleon Hill, Think and Grow Rich, and several others. The Power of Influence. And one of my favorites is The Alchemist. So I've been reading several books at a time, and this one captivated my attention. One of my favorite quotes in there is the power of broke is looking up at the sky, wondering what you've got to do to catch a break and saying, God, why am I doing this? And so that kind of resonated with me. Every day we think to ourselves, why are we doing this? Why are we going back and forth every single day? What's the end result? And so none of us really knows, but if we continue to work and strive for what our goals are, we'll definitely get the success that's due to us.
Absolutely. And, when we're on this entrepreneurial journey, we become learners. We become like children. So we start soaking up as much information because it's almost like an adventure, when you realize that there's something else you could be doing with your time and energy and skill set.
Mm-hmm.
So I can see why you're into 3, 4, 5, 6 books at once.
Yeah.
Right. It's like we're trying to dig for gold.
It is.
Find those things, those tactics, those strategies that's going to fuel us and fuel this journey of success. So the title, The Power of Broke, intrigued me because, me as a neuroscientist, I'm really into mindset and retraining our brain for success.
Mm-hmm.
And so when I looked at the name, The Power of Broke, I'm thinking, well, broke is a mindset. And normally people stay in that space. So I was really intrigued that he wrote a book that allows people to change their perception of the word broke and either use it to keep you where you are and stay broke, or use it as fuel to your success. And he's using his own personal story of how he is using it as fuel and inspiration for success. So let's dig into it. I'm going to turn this around. All right. If you're joining me on Periscope, I am actually on a blab with Mr. Jason Taylor, entrepreneur, and we are going over the first couple of chapters of The Power of Broke, written by Daymond John, the Shark Tank guru. And we are discussing what is the power of broke and what is Daymond John's take on being broke. His first line, I just want to dig right in and go to his first line. Oh, see, he also signed it over to me. Shonte, he says, success is 90% mindset. The rest is not.
That's awesome. That's awesome.
That is, I believe that. It's 90%. People think they need to take all these courses and have all these expensive tools and focus 90% of their time and energy on a freaking website. It's really here where success starts.
I can't wait. Okay? I'm sorry. I can't wait to dive into chapter 2 because I want to talk about that specific point that you just brought up. But let's definitely move.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Let's get it. Let's keep going. All right. The first line in the book is, the power of broke is a mindset.
Mm-hmm.
It's a mindset. 90% of your success is a mindset. Okay, if you're just joining, we're discussing the power of broke on Periscope. All right, and Blab. All right, so let's define what a mindset is. Okay, because I think if you understand what a mindset is, you'll understand that why he's saying that 90% of your success is mindset. A mindset is a set of beliefs and thought patterns that influence your behaviors and decisions. So people have it backwards. They try to change their behavioral patterns without checking their belief system. So you can't change your patterns of behavior and decision making until you go through those subconscious thoughts of belief systems. And where do belief systems begin? When do they begin? They begin as children.
Definitely.
And right? And who shapes our belief system? Society, grown-ups.
Yeah.
So
I like to piggyback on that.
Yeah, sure.
Reading the book Napoleon Hill has brought a lot of attention to me as regards to affirmations in your subconsciousness. Being a neuroscientist, you would understand this more than I would, but we have a lot of control over what goes and comes out of our subconscious minds. And so the mindset can be shifted this way. Um, if we change little things in our lives, like our habits, the people that we surround ourselves with, and what we read and take in from the media, we can shift our lives in a better direction. So the mindset can be changed for the better. And that's what people should understand, that just because you were in an environment or born in an environment that wasn't conducive to your upbringing doesn't mean that you can't still change that and make it better. So
Absolutely. And that's why I love bringing up the neuroscience piece of mindset, because we have evidence for that now. It's not woo-woo, it's not out there. Our brains are not fixed. They are changeable, they are rewirable. And thank goodness, because in this society, most people are programmed to be worker bees, to stay in their comfort zone and not push past their limits. So I'm so glad neuroscience is coming out with studies saying that when you change your thoughts, you chemically change your mental habits, and now you can change them for success. That means you can rewire your belief system for success. Okay? But you have to start with that belief system, not the behavior. Okay? And like you said, a lot of it is subconscious. 90% of our actions are driven by subconscious patterns. So we have to check our subconscious patterns and allow them to surface to our conscious mind so that we can deal with them consciously and start making plans and setting goals and immersing our minds with the thought patterns and information and people that will really serve our journey. So is there something, so I just read the first line of the book. He said the power of broke. Daymond John said the power of broke is a mindset. Is there something you want to delve into for the first chapter? I got a lot of notes. Oh, you're muted. I think you're muted.
Sorry about that.
Okay.
I take notes on every book that I read. And so you would see that I'll always keep a terabyte hard drive with me, because one, I hate losing data. I go through a laptop every year. So when I learned the first time that I lost a lot of information, a lot of books. And so I started carrying a hard drive with me to keep my notes. But I think in the first chapter, he spoke about innovation. That was a big deal to me because a lot of people believe one way about innovation, but he says innovation happens from the bottom up, not the top down. And
yes.
And so that resonated with me. Being an entrepreneur, sometimes it's hard to create from thin air, and so sometimes it's good to innovate. If you have a mentor, which is probably best to pick up on, they can help you reach your destination a lot faster than trying to do it yourself. So if you have a niche market that you're trying to reach, a product that you're trying to create, reach out to a mentor that has that product already in place or something similar. That way you can already have a blueprint to start your own programs.
Absolutely. Yeah. So in that statement, how to be a true innovator, it really starts from the ground up.
Mm-hmm.
Talking you don't have to be at the top. You don't already need to be, the CEO or the executive or rich or famous to come up with something and put your twist and ideas on it.
Mm-hmm.
Sometimes you can grab inspiration from anywhere and everywhere. And if you see a need, like with you've seen a need that people with diabetes needs to learn how to eat better and exercise better, and that became your mission. I mean, you can start creating or innovating all kind of pre-existing products and services and put your twist on it.
Yeah.
And, turn that into a business for success. And it sounds like you're already doing that.
Yeah, it started out actually um, as a meal prep plan for diabetic
Mm-hmm.
patients. I wanted them to eat healthy, and my grandmother passed away from diabetes, and I really wanted to help a lot of people in that aspect. What I found out is you actually have to be certified to give meal plans, and I had no intentions on being certified in that
Yeah.
aspect, but I did know a lot about fitness, and I had a certification in that, and so
Mm-hmm.
to be innovative, I decided to combine the two and to help people on a broader spectrum. I always believe in giving more value than it's worth. And so
Yeah.
people ask, I need a product or something, and I want to make sure that I give them that product, but I want to also make sure that I give them more value. And so, being able to combine those two helped out a lot.
That was a key point you made. You said, yeah, I found out that I didn't have the certification. So I decided to combine what I already had and, still serve that population of people.
Hmm.
And those are things that you can only find out about if you start walking the journey.
Definitely.
You know, your sometimes your path will only be revealed, or ideas will come, or insights will come only when you overcome, your fears and your doubts, or the seemingly limitations that society said, oh, well, you need a certification. You know, when you start walking that path, you start figuring out a different way to do it, your way, and still serve. Because nobody can stop you from serving if that's your mission and purpose. Okay. And innovation comes from everywhere and anywhere, and nobody has the monopoly on ideas and where you can get those ideas. That's where we become limitless in our potential. So thanks for sharing. All right. I have some, I have a couple of other ideas on that. All right. Let me read. I like to read stuff. So this is page 2. He says, let's face it, when you're up against all odds, when you've exhausted every opportunity, when you're down to your last dime, that's when you've got no choice but to succeed. You're out of options, man. So you double down, dig deep, and switch into that relentless turbo mode we've all got kicking around in our machinery. So that's when people really start to show up and really show what stuff they're made of, is when everything else is just not working. You've tried everything, you try to do it everybody else's way, and you're down to the wire, you're down to your last dime, you're backed up against the wall, but you have this vision, you have this purpose that still needs to get out. And if you don't get it out, you're going to suffer even more mentally and spiritually, because your higher calling is going to keep nudging you to do that thing. So some people, their backs are against the wall and they succumb to it because they don't have a drive in them. They don't have a mission. They don't have a purpose. So in order to keep going, he does talk about how you have to have passion. And I know that sounds cliche, but passion is what's going to fuel you through those moments of darkness. And he talks about how you can have all the money in the world, you can have all the investments in the world, but once that runs out, that's why most businesses fail, is because all their resources run out and they didn't have the passion in the first place, or the mission, which is that extraordinary fuel that will keep you going and pushing forward. So you have to have the mission and you have to have the passion initially, even when you don't have the resources. What do you think on that, Jason?
Oh yeah, I definitely agree on that. I completely agree. Something in his book, one of his smart tips, he mentioned in 1982, over 60% of the wealthiest Americans on the Forbes 400 list came from wealthy families. And then 30 years later, only 32%. So obviously, it's not about money, it's about integrity, the determining factor, and that keyword that you use, passion. So.
Absolutely, absolutely. Okay, so after he talks about innovation, he also talks about, what was that? To be authentic in what we are doing. And I know that's a word that's kind of getting more and more around, in people's mind about being authentic. And I'm here to tell you, as the neuroscientist, we have actually shown that when we pretend to be something we're not, we actually have to use up more of our mental energy to suppress who we really are so we can be who we're really not. So this is a brain thing, people. We might as well operate at our authentic self so we can free up that mental energy to put towards something that will really serve us, that we're really gifted on, that we're really passionate about, so that we can get those ideas of innovation and insights and creativity. But if you're using your mental fuel to do things you hate, or to do things that people have shaped your belief system to be, then that's not serving you. And frankly, we cheat the world when we don't go after or do what we're designed to do.
I got a caveat to that as well. I run into a lot of life coaches, especially in 2016, and one of the hardest things that I see is branding for life coaching. And the reason is because they don't actually understand their purpose for life coaching, but they understand that there's a need for it. So when you become a life coach, you have to understand what you're doing. You're helping others better themselves. And if you're just doing it for the money, then it's not authentic, like you mentioned earlier. And
Right.
that's a big thing in 2016 is being authentic, because social media, you can play yourself to be any type of person you want to be. So finding the authentic people between the mass of unauthentic people can be challenging, but true authentic people in the world understand each other. They understand the value, and they understand the character that comes with it. So, but yeah, a caveat to that too. In Grant Cardone's book, The 10X Rule, he speaks on affirmations and goal setting. And so, uh, if you want to be something in life, like for example, if you want to own, or when you plan to have $100 million in the next 10 to 20 years, one of the things that he says is to speak it in present tense. And so, yes, you might not have that money, but if you speak it in existence, it will come. And that's something that a lot of people have to start considering as an option as well. Speaking their goals into existence.
That's interesting, because that can feel inauthentic, right?
Mm-hmm.
If you say I have 10,000 or $10 million in the bank, that doesn't feel right, right? But if you always say I am going to have, that means you're always chasing the future.
Exactly.
So I have it now, that's not being authentic. That's just speaking it into your present moment. And so your mind, your brain will be working in the background to figure out, well, it says we have this 10 million in the bank. I better come up with some ways to prove that, to make sure it happens. So we have a comment from Miss, I don't know your first name, Mr. Mustaf Sky Conan. She says, I had an aha moment about having a mission. The sky is the limit. And that is interesting. You said that because Daymond John brought up how his mother raised him with minimal means, but she always implanted the seed of having no limitations, to always think big, because nobody has a monopoly on ideas. So, I mean, we have to think that, that we can keep growing, we can keep moving, because there are things that still need to come into play in this world. Everybody hasn't figured everything out. There's still solutions that need to be found. There's still job creations. I was watching something on PBS about social media and big data. And this is a turning point in our history with social media, because we are able to connect millions or billions of minds now. Whereas, just 10, 15 years ago, we were, we could only associate with the people in our local area, right? Unless you flew or made a phone call. But now I can talk to somebody in Iceland, right? I'm from Texas. I could talk to somebody in Iceland. We can exchange ideas. So people are being heard. Their ideas are being shared. They can learn and keep growing, because we have billions and billions of brain cells with all this potential, just waiting to connect and come up with ideas. So that was a good a note. And I'm thinking mission and purpose are the same. I definitely think that this is a comment on this stuff. I think they're related. I haven't really delved into how they are active.
Well, speaking on this, you have to kind of ask your question: what's the difference between the two, and what's the definition? Your mission and your purpose are actually the same. Your mission is actually your journey to your purpose. And so, for example, my mission is to reach people of the younger generation, which are labeled as millennials, from born in 1972 to the year 2000, to help them understand about the economy, about the stock market, and about their entrepreneur opportunities in this generation. And so that has been my purpose, and my mission is to continue bringing that message out to the people. And so you're right; those are both in the same.
Yeah, that's interesting that you serve millennials, because I serve Gen Xers a lot. I serve all people, but in particular, I do serve Gen Xers. Did you say 72 or 82?
Well, there's a study that says 1982, but
Okay.
I did some other research, and it actually dates back to 1972. So there's a big misconception there. Yeah,
that was that.
That's actually baby boomer age.
Yeah, I don't know about. I wrote a book on Gen X, and so people who are about 35-ish to 50-ish are considered Gen Xers. And some people on the cusp. So Ms. Stock is asking, are you? Yeah, I believe you're 50. You're a Gen Xer. But social scientists, there's a few social scientists who have defined it, but I don't think it's scientifically designed or defined. It's more of characteristics. So I say, if you feel like you're more of a millennial, be the millennial. If you feel like you're more of a but Gen Xers have a particular set of characteristics because you were born at a particular time. So, millennials, they were born in a time when we're using a lot of technology and people are thinking different. Gen Xers, we were born at a time where we were latchkey kids. Parents were off to work, so we spent a lot of time at home, independence. But at the same time, we were told, we could be whatever we want to be. But at the same time, we were given conflicting information saying, you still have a backup plan, go to school, get the 9 to 5. So we're very conflicted, and we're also the most stressed out generation in existence. That's a whole nother topic, but
I'm sorry to hear that.
It's cool, but we're also a generation of masterminds. That's the name of my book, a manual for the generation of masterminds and lost minds. So I help Gen Xers figure out their conflicts and use their mind and brain better to reach their full potential. Like, we don't have to stay stuck in that thought of, I can't be what my parents said I can be just because I have all these bills and all the, that's a whole nother conversation. So he also talks about staying hungry for success. What's your thoughts on that?
It brings me back to Les Brown. I'm not sure if you're familiar with Les Brown, but he did a speech a few years ago, and he goes into detail. He's like, you got to be hungry. And in my book, Lead Yourself to Financial Success, I wrote a excerpt on his speech and how he went from wanting to become a DJ to actually becoming a DJ because he was hungry. You just got to have that tenacity. You got to know what you want, and you got to go after it, point blank. There's nothing too complex about that.
Right. And having that mission and that purpose, and your purpose can evolve. It doesn't have to be, you don't have to stay in that purpose, because like I said, as you are walking the path, your journey becomes unveiled to you. And if the mission is the journey, you will continue to evolve. Now, with staying hungry, I take that literal too. I mean, because sometimes you have to be hungry to go into that instinct mode of, I have to do everything that I can to survive and to be successful. So, I mean, literally, we need to sometimes go hungry. Sometimes we need to see the back of the refrigerator. My father said, "You've never seen the back of the refrigerator, but maybe I needed to see the back of the refrigerator so that I can understand what adversity means." When I started my entrepreneurial journey, I still have the mindset of everything is all packaged up. Everything's going to work out because I've been trained to be successful. In school, I was successful. In my job, I was successful because all the ducks were in a row. So I didn't know what it was like to hustle. I didn't know what it was like to be hungry and to feel hungry. It wasn't until I became an entrepreneur that things weren't all packaged neatly in a row. I realized that, man, I better listen to some gangster rap and get my hustle. I'm serious. I had to start listening to gangster rap because I had to incite that drive in me to do what it takes to put food in the refrigerator. I had never experienced that before. So one thing about the power of broke, it's a mindset thing. You can't bring your 9-to-5 mindset to your entrepreneurial journey. It doesn't work out. It's a totally different way of thinking, because the entrepreneurial mindset is not, there's no job description. There's no manager to go to. There's no supervisor to ask what to do next. You are the manager. You are the supervisor. You are the CEO. You're the janitor. You're everything. Okay? What do you think about that?
No, you're completely right on that. Entrepreneurship is a 24/7 operation. You have to make calls past the 5 o'clock time frame that a normal 9-to-5 job requires. You have to set meetings outside of your scope in case you thought, for a person who works a 9-to-5. There's nothing wrong with that. And if you do want to go the entrepreneur route, you can use that to supplement your income. So I always suggest that, if you really want to dive into it, go in full force. But not everybody can afford that lifestyle. So, but as far as
gradual shift, a gradual mindset shift. I mean, if you jump all in, you will experience serious adversity.
Yeah, adversity is a really strong word for that, but it can be detrimental. If you don't have what it takes to to go all out. It's a process. I continually learn every day what it takes to be an entrepreneur. That's not to say that I'm happy about the adversity, but I'm grateful for it. So it's necessary.
Absolutely.
Yeah, it's necessary to be better.
And he talks about that. I believe you were wanting to get into chapter 2. He talks about that advantage of knowing what it's like to be at a disadvantage and not to succumb to it, but to use it as fuel. There's a quote he had. Find it. I'm not sure right away. Oh, let me see Miss Stoff's comment. She said she woke up at 5 and put on positive affirmations. So that's one of the ways that Daymond John programmed his mind. He every day, his mantra is get up and rise and grind. Rise and grind. Rise and grind. So he is giving his mind instructions every day to rise up more than what he was yesterday and grind. And we know if you look up grind, you'll probably see 10 definitions. But, just the essence of the word, it is putting in the work, putting in the time, doing the things that others are not willing to do, and doing what you need to do, because you know what you need to do sometimes. Where you have, dropped the ball or didn't make that phone call or, talking negatively. You have to grind for your success. You have to give your brain instructions. If you don't give your brain instructions and lead it and inspire it and motivate it, it will run awry and it'll do what it wants to do. It will run the programs, its other programs that society has set for you. That's why it's so important to have your mantras for success. And I just thought that was interesting that on page 31, he says, it meant waking up every morning and saying those 3 little words, rise and grind, over and over, again and again. Think about how you might apply this same mindset to your own life, your own circumstances. So mantras are very important. You're on the right path, Mustaf, Sky, Hannon. I wanted to find that if we keep on the idea of the power of broke, he says, he talks about the power of broke, not being broke, not staying broke. He's saying that you can harness the power of being broke. Who would have thought that the word power the word broke had power? That's why this book, The Power of Being Broke, is such a game changer, because it's changing your perception of the word broke. There's power in it if you know how to redirect. Just like there's power in fear. There's power in doubt. Because they all can redirect you. You can harness it and you can use it to fuel your journey, to bust through your obstacles, and to do what you need to do to grind and hustle for what you want. What do you think about the term broke?
It's definitely a powerful statement. We all didn't come from a wealthy background. We had to grind to get to where we are now. I think what's more interesting about the terminology is that when you come from this background of being financially, when you don't have enough money, and when you first start out, there's 2 things that happen. either you let your environment take its course and you continue going that path, or you do something about it. And so Daymond Johns explains specifically of how he used the word power and broke in the same aspect and overcame his obstacles in life. You know, he actually grew up in Hollis, Queens, where some of my family originated from. And I know all too well the setbacks that that environment can bring, especially during his generation. He overcame that, especially a lot of the events that he spoke of, you know, snowing, during the snowstorms, he would plow the driveways, and during the springtime, he would offer spring cleaning for exclusive rights to snow his driveways. You know,
Right.
only an entrepreneur could think of things like that. And
Yes.
so you definitely have to have that mindset, but you also have to understand you want to be out of that situation. And so you got to do whatever it takes to get out of there.
Absolutely. And I know, Mustaf, you mentioned it's wow. It's funny how intuitively we do things, right? And when we're younger, we are so intuitive. We are so creative. But as we start getting into this adulthood, and we're told that, you know, now you got to pay these bills. Now you have to, in order to do that, you better go to school. You better work. You know, and then that dims our light. That dims our creativity. That dims our intuition.
What
You know, and we have to handle that.
what happens is the word scarcity is preached. And so that puts fear into a lot of people, 95% of the population. And what happens is then we get into this 9 to 5 mindset, and we lean towards security. And security
Yes.
means, hey, we have a paycheck that comes in, it's guaranteed. It might fluctuate up and down, but we know how much we're going to get paid. We don't need to, you know, put any more stress on ourselves. But when you think about it, you're going to be stressed regardless. You're going to always have to, unless you're making over 250,000 a year. Um, Anything below that, you're going to always be in that mid to lower level range for the economy. So you're always going to be struggling. You might as well, if you're going to struggle, you might as well do something about it.
Where there's no limits, there's no limitation, there's no ceiling being an entrepreneur on how much you can make. And, you know, being in a job, and don't get me wrong, people have to work. Okay. We need people to do things that will build organizations. But I also think, you know, people can be an entrepreneur even in an organization. You know, I think they're calling them employeepreneurs. You know, it's a mindset. It's having stake in something and be able to show your ideas and capitalize on those ideas. Like all those Googleaires and Dellionaires that were created, right? But what a job does, the mindset of the job is, it's a false sense of security, because it's satisfying that old primitive mind that wants to stay in the safe zone, that wants to stay in the comfort zone. Like, okay, if I work this amount of hours, I will be guaranteed this check. But will you? Because I've known companies that's been around for 100 years to go belly up. You know, and what about the times during the recession or the financial crisis where, you know, people's retirements went away? You know, so there is that false sense of security that everything is supposed to go as planned if you follow the societal rules. And if you know anything about the entrepreneurial mindset, if you know anything about that, there are no rules. You make up the rules as you go along, and it's kind of scary, like a roller coaster, right? But it's also thrilling, and there's no telling where you'll end up, you know, on this journey. Oh, you're so welcome, Stephanie. Yes, we are discussing the power of broke. Um, we're gonna start wrapping it up and just probably talk about final thoughts. But as you can see, we could keep going and going and going. I mean, this is just chapter 1 and 2, right? So we talked about what a mindset is. We talked about what an innovator really is. It's anybody from anywhere at any point in their life. There's no age limit. There's no gender. There's no income level you have to be innovative. We talked about the power of growth, the power of adversity, how we can use it, we can harness those things. Oh, and I also wanted to bring up how his mother was so instrumental to his success, because she intuitively was doing things to shape the mindset of this future multi-millionaire. She knew she had to be present. She had to be present, not hovering, but sacrifice her own mortgage to make sure that she could be home instead of working 3 jobs and being, like you said, in an environment, especially for young Black men. You know, she needed to have her energy there so that he could have an opportunity not to succumb to that environment. What do you think?
I'm glad you brought that up. I think it was awesome, you know, the love and respect that he has for his mother. And he understood what she did to bring value into his life. You know, that $80,000 investment that she took out of her mortgage, you can actually, and he already said it in the book, but you can consider that as a venture capitalist or an angel investor. He mentioned that mothers are the ultimate startups. And
Yeah,
you know, mothers in general continuously provide for their children, and they know a need uh, that's set in the children, so they continually add value that way, and love, compassion, finances, stability, and security. So that was a big deal. But yeah, I really wanted to get into the innovation part.
yeah,
You know, Steve Jobs, he's, you know, he has these smart notes in the book. And for anybody that's listening in, you definitely want to grab this book, because there's a lot of things that can go over your head if you don't read it over and over. One of the things he talks about is a couple of entrepreneurs that came onto the show, and they promoted a sneaker brand. That sneaker brand was through I actually they had a sponsorship through NASCAR, if I'm not mistaken, but their dealings were all over the place, and that's why a lot of the sharks said no. It was too complicated. They asked for too much equity, $200,000 upfront for, I believe, 15% a stake. So it just didn't make sense in the long run. But he mentioned that if you narrowed your niche down and you focus on that one product, um, because it is innovative. That shoe was lightweight, durable. It was good for running. It could do everything that an athlete needed it to do. They just had too much going on. So sometimes you have to narrow the niche down. And I want to go back to Steve Jobs. You know, Steve Jobs selling his car, and Steve Wozniak selling his calculator so they can build the first Apple One product. You know, these entrepreneurs, they have a focused niche. They see a problem in the economy or in the world, and they try to fix it. So for anybody who's listening, just understand that one aspect is, if you understand that there's a problem and a need to fix it, you can become an entrepreneur and you can lead yourself to financial success.
absolutely. And we have to be able to detach ourselves. Like the Buddhists, they don't have any attachments, you know, which allows them the freedom of creativity and to, you know, tune into their higher mind. You know, we can always replace stuff. So Steve Jobs, he had a bigger vision. Steve Wozniak, he had a bigger vision. They're like, we could get this stuff again 100 times over, but we need to get this stuff off the ground. And I can't tell you how many things I have sold because I believe in my journey. Okay. And I was willing to be uncomfortable, because that's what happens when you step out your comfort zone. You have to be willing to be uncomfortable for a year, for 2 years, for 3 years, for 4 years, however long it takes. It's worth it in the long run, because you either are going to spend your next 40, 50, 60 years in a job you hate, or doesn't fill you up, or keeps you average, or keeps you at a certain income level, or you're just going to put in the work, be uncomfortable for a few years, but doing the things that fuels you and fires you up and get excited. That's living. That is true living. Challenging yourself, staying out of your comfort zone, because it's out of your comfort zone where the magic really happens. It's out of your comfort zone that you will discover the gold in you, your gifts and talents that your job will never pull out of you. That's the thing. You will never be able to use all that potential inside if you are in some place you do not like. So that's my rant on innovation. If you want to be innovative, you got to be in that mental space of being innovative. Unless you're at an organization that allows you to tune in, like Google. Google allows their employees to sleep, because they know sleep is one of the greatest ways to become creative and insightful, to rest your mind. There have been a lot of innovations and creations that have came about because they were able to get enough sleep, or they took naps. Took cat naps. Before I allow somebody to join in, I need you to tell me like who you are and what you want to discuss, just in case. Oh, you're muted.
My apologies, but there's a lot of new joiners in. I just want to kind of explain in detail what we're going on, just in a short, brief 1-minute segment. The Power Broke by Daymond John is a book that just recently came out. It explains his past experiences and a lot of other successful entrepreneur past experiences, and not having enough financially, but still being able to successfully, make it in life. So.
Hi, Nate. How are you doing?
I'm fine. I have a question.
Yeah.
I'm from Ukraine, and
wow.
I'm 20 years old. Only I have my own business in creating like logos and such, but I don't know how to gain new customers.
Oh, okay. You're muted.
That's a good question, Nate.
What?
Let me answer that for you. When I first started in the graphics art design and web design, I had no idea what I was doing. I actually started in the background of IT development, especially in the engineer section for system servers, operating systems like Server 2003, 2008, and 2012 R2. So I didn't know too much about web design. What I did was I had a passion for it, though. And so there's a lot of free material out there for designing. You should be aware of that. But also for the marketing side, be very vigilant when it comes to marketing. I would even suggest looking for a mentor who's already doing it. That way you can shorten your learning curve by half. And a caveat to that, you don't actually need to find a physical mentor. You can look at some of the influencers on social media like Twitter, Facebook, LinkedIn.
Who's your influencer?
I have a few, actually. I have several mentors that I talk to on a regular basis. But you can Google a lot of them. One of my favorites is Josh Felber's. He has his Money Talks program, and another one is Grant Cardone. So you can actually Google them on Facebook and see how they promote their products, and you can use that technique for your own endeavors.
Yeah, if you research like organizations like Apple, they are, the golden standard for what it's like to brand, something and get a tribe of followers. So you want to build up a tribe of followers that love your logo. So your logos aren't going to resonate with everybody. So you got to find the people that your logos people will find interesting. because logos could be all over the place. Do you know your niche market or the kind of customers you're going after now?
Sorry?
Do you know the type of people that resonate with your logos now, who like your logos now? Is it like young men around 20 or your family? Okay, so it sounds like you need to kind of put yourself out there more on social media and just put your logos out there as bait and see what kind of response you get from people. And the people who responds to the images of your logo are probably the people who are going to start buying from you. So one of the places you can go
most of the time I get bashed.
Huh?
Most of the time I get bashed and scream because they don't like it.
Here's what I would. No, I kind of understand where you're coming from. When you first start out in graphic art design, the product, it takes a long time to get really good at it. Here's what I would do. Here's a small blueprint. You can first create a Facebook page. It's free of charge and it doesn't cost you a dime. There you put your logos. And so you want to put your name of the business. Maybe it could be Nat's Logos or Nat Higger's Amazing Logos, whatever you decide. The second is you want to put that Facebook out to the public and you want to share your logo designs with your friends and families. Once they see the logos, they can decide whether they like them or not like them. But again, once you continually put your logos out, practice. There's a lot of free tools out there, especially I believe Photoshop CS5 portable. If you Google that, you can actually use that for an application to create logos for free. So continually practice. Look on YouTube. Right now, we're in the information generation. We're in the information stage. So everything out there is free for the most part. But yeah, I would continually practice and just put it out there, regardless of whether the feedback is negative or positive, you're getting feedback. And that's going to help you in the long run.
Yes. Oh, we got to talk about feedback one day for sure. Yes, and make sure you start an Instagram account as well and tag it logos and entrepreneur and things that you feel will draw people to your Instagram.
How will that prove my customer base? Because I will only get like random likes and such. If I just tag everyone, random people in it, it will not gain any more customers.
Well, you have to get more visible, it sounds like, and use targeted hashtags that your audience is looking for. So that would be our recommendation, to get visible.
Yeah.
Just keep putting yourself out there, and tell people what you do, show people what you do, and I guarantee you'll have more success. Thank you so much for joining us, Nate. Talk to you later.
What did you say?
I said thanks for joining. All right, so that has brought us to the 1 o'clock hour for me, 2 o'clock hour for you, and I'm sure we could have did another 3 hours just on the first chapter, but I think we covered serious mindset tools of success and discussed Daymond John's views on being broke. It's not about being broke, it's a mindset of harnessing the power of being broke, harnessing your adversity and using it as fuel to guide your next steps on your personal, professional, and entrepreneurial journey. So you have been the Shonte Devon Taylor, a neuroscientist and mindset success catalyst, and Jason Taylor. Can you share your title with everyone again? Wait, you froze. Oh, you're muted.
Sorry about that. Serial entrepreneur and leading authority for millennials for the entrepreneur mindset.
Yes, it's 90% mindset, okay? Daymond John, he signed the copy of my book, and he said, Shonte, success is 90% mindset. The rest is not. So I'm a neuroscientist by training, and if you're going to learn mindset stuff, you probably want a neuroscientist in your repertoire of, figuring out this mindset success journey. If you want to learn more about what I do, you can go to mindsetbusinessacademy.com, mindsetbusinessacademy.com, and sign up for my free 3-part video series on how to build a more successful mindset in your personal, professional, and entrepreneurial journey, because mindset is 90% of your success. And where can people find you, Jason?
I made it pretty simple for them. If they can go to jasonttaylor.com, you can find everything about me, my book, and some of my endeavors. I'm constantly putting out newsletters, so you can subscribe and see what I'm investing in the next go round. Currently, we just invested in a web app for college students to pay funds. And so it rounds off the dollar of every purchase you make to the nearest dollar. And the rest of that change goes into your student account loan. And so it slowly but surely pays off your student loan for you. You don't have to worry about it.
Oh, gosh, that's a whole nother discussion. Student loan debt is out of control, which is part of my reasoning of becoming an entrepreneur. Mm-hmm. Because if we have unlimited earning potential of being an entrepreneur, then that means that, I don't have to be stuck in a job that's really just going to pay mortgage and school loans. So I want to be able to live this life instead of just working to pay bills. And they will come after you with these student loans. So you got to make sure you're in a position to say, hey, I can pay those off, no problem. But the only way you're going to do that is to be the CEO at something. You can be the CEO at IBM, or you can be the CEO of whoever, whatever you do. But it's all a mindset. A CEO has a CEO mindset. And I have a Facebook group called Ignite Your Inner CEO Mindset as well, if you want to join that, if you want to work on your mindset. Thanks so much for joining me in the conversation, Jason Taylor. This was wonderful. And we're not related, but maybe we are.
Maybe, you never know.
You never know. So we've been discussing The Power of Broke, written by Daymond John, the first 2 chapters. And we look forward to sharing the next 2 chapters with you. So make sure you subscribe to this blab to get the notifications. It's been an honor, and we'll see you next time, everyone. Take care.
Awesome. Thank you.